Right, Ian, do you make it 7 o'clock?
Yep, I do.
Okay, so it is 7 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, so we will start. Welcome to the March meeting. We have apologies from, do we have any apologies?
No, but we don't have Paul Arnold at the moment.
Okay, well, he most likely be here in a minute. But just before we start, as you know, Ray Watts has stepped down as a councillor, and he did just ask me to read out his email. And it says, Dear Andrew, it has been an immense honour and privilege to serve the communities of Colyton and Collie Ford as parish councillor for the past 3 years. However, I now need to act decisively in order to clear the way for another candidate to come forward for election in May, and for me to pursue a different path. I therefore tender my resignation with immediate effect. Yours, Ray Watts. I have sent him an email thanking him for his contribution over the last 3 years. Okay, so we'll move on then to item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, you can always bring them up later.
I've got my hand up, Mr. Chairman.
Right, yes, Howard.
Just to reiterate once more that I am a member of the CVRA and also their minutes secretary, and also I am secretary of the Community Land Trust in Colyton.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, are there any others? No, okay. Let's move on then to the police report, item 3. You can see the report of the crimes there. There aren't any details, obviously, and we haven't got any police presence, sadly. So moving on to item 4, it's the public question time. So any members of the public would like to speak? Right, who's going to go first? Martin, would you like to go first?
Yep, I'd just like to make councillors aware that planning application 2795 should not have been heard on the on your last planning meeting. The application did not close until the 4th of March. It had been put in until there was chance for public representation. I'm not quite sure exactly how this has come about. I am aware that apparently these councils have given asking the applicant to whether they are amenable to waiting until the next meeting that it can be put in, and whether they might say no. And obviously parish council will need to think about what they might do in that situation. So basically what happened with this applicant is the original February, and because the applicant didn't put in any legible plans, etc., they actually were refused by East Devon. You'll notice that if you look on the document dates, they were actually dated the 16th of February. Well, at that stage, the application was the 13th. This was not good enough, and I went to them and give them a flea in their ear a little bit, because they shouldn't have done this. Basically, you can't do that sort of thing. Add it when people can't make any comment about it. Anyway, they did. That is the reasoning why they extended the application to the 4th of March. Now, why you guys didn't know about it, I'm not sure. There's been a communication breakdown somewhere. I'm a little bit worried that nobody looked at the portal to find out. Anyway, that's my input, but obviously the situation needs to be rectified.
Okay, thanks, Martin. We have got an update from East Devon on this, haven't we, Ian?
Yeah.
They've all East Devon have said that they're going to talk. They can't extend it without the applicant's permission, so they've gone back to the applicant to get permission from the applicant to extend.
Yeah, can I come in? It's Paul here.
Yeah.
Sorry about this. I'm bandwidth horror. So sorry, I'm not on video. I think the applicant, as I understand it, has already come back and said they're not prepared to go beyond the 16th, which means we need to have looked at it sort of next Monday when we don't meet. I mean, I've just had a little look at the background to this, and I've actually discussed this with Martin as well, having come to it sort of pretty fresh, to be honest. And it's a little bit of a pickle, this, because there's some quite important underlying context. First of all, and I absolutely didn't know this particular property is in the AOMB. It's right on the edge, but it is on the AOMB, and arguably it should have been handled with extra sensitivity all round. It's not particularly, it's not us or district council. It's just it's kind of evolved in an unfortunate way, and it is right that really we should probably have had it on the agenda for tonight for a sensible discussion, because as I understand it from Mr. Weir, from Martin Weir, there are some things here we would normally be quite worried about. So, for example, the property seems to have simply included in its domain over the years aspects of the field which are owned by the same person, and there are sort of perhaps a terrace and then a garage has been brought in, and we should have had a think about that, really. So to be honest, Joe, I don't know quite what we can do, but it does look as if the comment we put in so far isn't particularly well informed. So that's all I can say.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Crispin. I mean,
That's Crispin. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I can bring this up under new planning applications, or we can discuss it now.
Can we do it under new planning applications?
Yeah, there's nothing else. There's nothing else under new planning.
That's right. There's nothing else under there, and we'll give us more time then rather than now. If that's all right, Martin, if we discuss it later on. Yeah. Okay. It's on mute. Right. Anyone else on the public would like to speak?
Can we have the agreement of council on that, Chairman?
Sorry?
We have the agreement of council on that.
Well, I think it's.
You don't have the authority without any other member.
It's a planning matter, Eddie. It is. We are in public question time at the moment.
I realise that.
Yeah, we've got a time limit on it, haven't we?
Well,
sorry. Okay, Mr. Priestley, would you like to go ahead?
Unmute, Ian.
We can't hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I don't know who muted me. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the parish on the fantastic new bridge in Colyton. But are you all aware that Coliford's been crying out for a footbridge for years to provide a safe crossing down by the White Hart? I think it's a question of priorities and people's safety in Coliford, which apparently looks like it's a bit low on the list. At the last meeting, I discussed the state of the only footpath between Coliford and Colyton. Councillor Hayes shouted that one down, but he did forget to declare that it's his friend's field. He doesn't actually like dog walkers on it, I've now found out. Mr. Hay could do with learning to declaring his interests. So I asked the clerk to organise a little course for him, if that would be all right. In the same meeting, Councillor Reel used the exact same wording that I'd used earlier on a footpath that was bothering him, i.e. it was dangerous, 6 inches of mud, people would get hurt on it, etc., etc. But because that path wasn't owned by a parish councillor's mates, you were all over it. You were sending letters, river gravel, and it just looks like one rule for one rule for another as far as footpaths are concerned there. Next, the GDPR breach that's happened. Towards the end of the amenities meeting, Councillor Reel asked that the clerk should write to the EDDC to obtain the list of people who wrote to ask for a clear and transparent election of 2 new parish members. The clerk duly did this. EDC didn't question the request, and then the clerk distributed all the names to all of the councillors. I've contacted the EDDC lawyer, who spent over 6 hours looking for a way to prove that EDDC hadn't broken any GDPR rules. He thought he had something fairly solid to absolve the EDDC, but did concede that the EDC privacy rules were very vague, unclear, and needed updating. The names have been passed to the clerk in good faith. He was happy, if requested, to write and apologise to all of the affected individuals on behalf of the EDDC. However, the problem is, why did the parish council want all the names in the first place? Why did you request them? You took advantage of an inexperienced clerk, treating him like your new pet, who was anxious to please his new owners. What will happen to the names now? Do you intend to use them maliciously? What benefit is there for any individual councillor in knowing who requested an election? Why have you not respected privacy laws and the parish council's GDPR guidelines, which differ in this case from the EDDC ones? What steps have you now taken to keep the list confidential?
Okay,
we also need,
right. But you've had your 3 minutes. Just going back to that one, we did have clearance that we could ask for those names. We've always been able to ask for those names because the last time we had this, which was 5 or 6 years ago, we asked for the names and we were allowed to have them because without knowing
rules
those
have
names,
changed since then, Andrew. You know that.
You may say that, Ian, but without knowing the names, you could have 10 names put forward. Some of them may not be residents of the parish, so we are allowed to ask for those names. You know, it would be senseless not to. So that is why it's happened. Okay,
but not to publish them to every councillor.
Well, the councillors can ask for them. We asked them as a council, and therefore we all got them. I don't see there's a problem.
Sorry, can I interject there, Mr. Chairman?
I don't think that's right.
It was your request to the clerk to solicit those names. It wasn't determined and decided by the council. It was on your authority only.
No,
so
it wasn't, Eddie. It wasn't
your authority.
No, I did not, Eddie. And it wasn't me who asked for it, actually. So please get your
You
facts
backed it
right.
up. It was Councillor Reel that asked for it. And
yes,
then
that's right. But you agreed and made a comment to the clerk.
Yeah, because we always have done in the past, Eddie. It's just standard practice.
It's not the way it's always done, though. The law's changed since then, Andrew. You know that.
No, I don't. Particularly on a thing of democratic like this, we have to be certain with the 10 names that they're residents of the parish.
But why have we got 13 councillors on here then, Chairman?
EDDC.
They each have an equal view.
Sorry, Howard. What?
It's EDDC's responsibility to ensure that those people who request an election are on the electoral roll. It's their responsibility, not the parish council's.
Yeah, well, you might say that, Howard, but with the parish council are allowed to ask to see the names. They always have been. So, you know.
But not to distribute them as you have.
Well, it was only distributed to parish councillors. So it's not been any wider than that. So I don't really see it's a problem.
Why? The question is, why did the parish council have to know the names?
Well, yeah, I've answered that already. We asked for them.
So what have you done with the names now?
Well, I presume the parish councillors have kept them to themselves, but that's it. Okay.
Why did we want them in the beginning?
Can we move on? Are there any other members?
Chair, can I come in briefly on please to help Mr. Priestley there? It's Paul again. Sorry again on the black screen. Very sorry about that. Councillor West is absolutely correct. These will have been checked by EDDC Electoral Services. There was no value. And I have to say, I'm not at all sure there's any precedent in us offering to in some way validate those ourselves. I suppose the question I would have to ask you, Chair, and Ian, is if what you are saying, Chair, is the case, have you or Ian checked that these addresses are all actually people within the parish? Has that happened, yes or no?
Well, that we were given a list of names who are on the parish, who are on the electorate. So, yes.
So you have. So you're saying you've gone off. You, Chair, have gone through that list of names.
I've gone through that list of names.
With what? With an electoral roll?
Yes.
How have you verified them? Well, that's exactly what East Devon Electoral Services will have done because they create the electoral roll. Anyway, I think the final question that Mr. Priestley asked was why was this asked for? And he asked that from Councillor Reel.
Yes.
Stephen.
And I will answer that. Yeah, I will answer that. I was asked by several people in the community, why are we having an election and costing £2,000 to £2,500 for a 12 months? And I told them, I said, look, we could have co-opted, but because more than 10 people wrote to East Devon requesting an election, that we have to have an election. What a waste of money, I was told. I said, can't blame Colyton Parish Council. This is 10 members of the public. More than 10 members have requested it.
So have you now told your friends the names of the people who requested it?
Absolutely not.
Good.
Why did you want them in the beginning?
I'm talking to Ian, please.
You knew there were 10 names, Steve. You didn't have to know what the names were.
I wanted to personally know. And
Is that
I feel as a councillor,
Is that for a malicious or some sort of other reason?
Nothing malicious. How could it be malicious when I don't know those people's names until I know them?
It's what you do with the information once you have it.
I have done nothing and I will do nothing because I've been told not to do nothing. I am a councillor.
Okay.
It's just
well, I'll tell you what, as an olive branch.
Well, let Steve finish. Sorry. Let Steve carry on.
If these people are big enough and man enough to ask for an election and to spend £2,500 for a year when we've managed for what, 7 months now? What if you want man enough to stand up and be counted for spending our parishioners' money? We have got to stand up and be counted when we spend a penny.
The people wanted a clear and transparent election. That's what it's about. Not you co-opting your friends on. That's what the difference is.
Chair, can I ask you a point of information?
That is nasty.
Chair, point of information.
That's what co-opting is.
Right, sorry, Ian. Paul,
thank you,
have the
Andrew.
final. Paul, have the final say because we're going to move on.
Just for the record, it's a 2-year term remaining. Just to say that. Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Okay, right. So have we got any other members of the public who want to speak? Yes. Keith. Sorry, you're on. Can you turn on?
No, Keith isn't on mute. No, Keith wasn't on
Keith,
mute.
you're on mute now.
Yeah, he wasn't on mute.
All right.
But we can't hear you, Keith.
Go on.
Don.
Oh, dear.
Back. Now you.
Keith,
Back.
Yes. Yeah.
can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is about Millfield and the allotments. Primarily now, after the bank was trimmed, the allotment parking spaces are at a premium. And this has now currently been exacerbated by all the chippings that have been parked up there. What plans do the council have to either move those chippings to a place where they're out of the way and stop us from parking in the coming season, which is now starting to get very busy? It's a real inconvenience for all of us there now.
Okay, thanks. Colin, can you answer that one?
You're muted, Colin. You're muted, Colin. You're
Colin,
muted,
press-
Colin.
Colin, you're muted.
Bottom left-hand corner, Colin. Bottom left-hand corner of your screen is on mute.
No, Colin, you're still muted.
Not only can he talk, he's deaf as well.
Oh, there we are. Okay, right.
Oh, right.
Hey.
So ignore that comment, Steve.
So the answer to that question is these chippings have been put there for the benefit of allotment holders. And we were hoping that as many people as possible will make use of them. Those that aren't being used will have to move into a place away from the parking area. And it was just done under goodwill by the contractor to put them there, and we will, as soon as we can, move them so that they're out of the way of the parking. But I'm just appealing to all allotment holders, if they want to make use of them, they're there free and gratis for their use. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Colin. Right. Okay, so we've had our 15 minutes of question time, so we'll now move on to the agenda again. We've got approval of the minutes of the last full parish council meeting on the 8th of February. Everyone's had well, everyone's seen those. May they be signed as a true record.
Chair, this is a slightly unusual one. Am I right in thinking that at the February meeting we approved the November minutes?
Yes, that's correct, Paul.
Okay. I know this comes up later, but there is a bit of a difficulty with what remains in the November minutes about Mr. Peter Gibbons, which is plainly still wrong. So either we can't. The problem is if the February minutes endorse the November minutes as they stand, that's also wrong. I don't know what we can do about that. Either that or we just have to put something in tonight's minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel with that one, it is more of a, not so much the minutes, but just sorting it out with Peter Gibbons. Don't you think we could do it direct?
Whatever you feel, Chair. Yeah.
Okay. So can we have a proposal to accept those minutes? Steve, as the seconder.
Seconder.
Yeah. Crispin, thanks.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Howard.
before we move on, I think there is some confusion, and I'm not really dropping names, but I can remember at a council meeting, Councillor Helen Parr saying that she thought that Peter Gibbons owned that land when she was talking about Sheep's Marsh. I'm sure that Helen will agree that she did say that. And I wonder if that's where the muddle has occurred.
Yeah, but Howard, just going, sorry, if we can just keep off that for a minute. That's actually not in the minutes. We're trying to okay the minutes, and that's not actually in the minutes. So, I mean, we've got to discuss this in a minute anyway, this particular point is under correspondence. So if we can do that, can we just deal with the minutes at the moment? So we've had a proposer and a seconder. So are there anybody against the minutes?
I better vote against, I'm afraid, Chair, because
Yeah,
if the chain involving November involves February, I'm afraid I have to vote against, for the record.
Right, okay. Is there anybody abstaining?
No, I'm against, Chairman.
Okay, there's 2 against and 1 abstention, and the rest are in favour. So the minutes are passed. Are there any matters arising from the minutes?
You haven't got a proposer and a seconder, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we have. We've already done it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So moving on to item 7, report from the county councillor. We've got his report. Martin, he is here.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. Well, there's nothing much to add. It's mainly about the county council budget, and I've laid out what's happened in my position. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, please do. On the elections, there has been a change since I wrote the report. The government now agreed that candidates can distribute leaflets themselves. So some of the comments in my report are now out of date. I think that's all I want to say at this particular point. If anyone wants to ask anything, please do.
Okay. Are there any questions? Steve, yes.
Martin, several weeks, perhaps a couple of months ago, I asked you to look into the flooding between Shiphay Farm and Blue Bridge. You did promise to come back to me, but I've had no answer. Can you inform us of what's happening?
I haven't heard anything about that. No, I'm afraid not. I haven't.
Well, there's water laying there now even.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll go back and have a look at that. I'm sorry, I haven't got a reply yet.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Right. Let's move on to item 8. Reports from a district councillor. Paul, would you like to go? Paul? Paul, did you hear?
Go with Helen.
Right. Helen, would you like to go ahead with your...
Thank you. Yes, just the
council tax rise for the district council will be 3.4%. This is a, sorry. This is a going to be a £5 rise for a Band D property, and it will work out at £10p a week. The council has set a balanced budget thanks to £700,000 grant from the government, which is a lower tier service grant allocation, and also 616,000 for additional COVID-19 costs. Car park charges were going to be raised to bring in 300,000, but for obvious reasons, this has been postponed until April 22. As a result, the Treasurer has warned the Council that the general fund balances, which are normally held at between 3 and 3.8 million, are at the bottom of that range. Ian, I will send you this report.
Thank you.
To save you. So they're now at the bottom of that range, and there are other late expenses not in the draft budget, such as a management review and also expenses at Queen's Drive in Exmouth. At any rate, the council expressed an enormous debt of gratitude to the Treasurer because he really has been up against it and come up with answers and a balanced budget. Second point is, at the last meeting, the Scrutiny Committee received a report from the Chief Executive on staff morale. This was a result of concerns expressed by councillors over long-term absence of a senior officer. And the staff survey held in February 2021 showed there's a very worrying increase in staff absence from stress, depression and anxiety. And this is since the last staff survey, which was reported in June 2020. This can't solely be down to the lockdown and the difference between summer and winter lockdown. But shockingly, 17% of staff who responded also reported bullying by councillors. 6% of the respondents stated they were sometimes bullied, and 11% stated they were seldom bullied. But the fact is that 17% mentioned bullying, and clearly this was shocking. 38% of the staff also said they were seldom, sometimes, often, or always subject to personal harassment in the form of unkind words or behaviour. There was micromanaging going on by councillors, and this was increasing stress. So the Scrutiny Committee agreed that the Chief Executive, Senior Managers team and portfolio holder for council look at 4 key points of concern that were coming out of that report, and they were around workload and staff shortages and vacancies and absences, that sort of thing. Also home working because of corona and obviously isolation. Then member conduct with staff and staff communication. And then the chief executive is to report back to scrutiny when they've completed their discussions. But the wording of this proposal had to be strengthened when the chief executive expressed concerns that the staff would get the impression that councillors were tone deaf when staff had shown real bravery in voicing their concerns. I mean, obviously, there is huge concern about this, and it isn't just the corona epidemic that is causing these staff to have such, to report such problems. And we, as caring councillors, we have a duty of care to the staff, and this serious matter has to be very carefully looked into. Thank you, Jan.
Okay, are there any questions on that? No. Okay, so we move on to Paul. Paul?
Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. I'm getting a lot of distortion all around there. Yes, thank you. I didn't hear all of that. So my report, again, I've supplied that to Ian. It covers 3 areas. Forgive me if Helen has covered these already. First of all, is around the average £5 annual tax increase for a Band D property. There's quite an extensive statement within my report from the finance portfolio holder, Jack Rowland, who explains why that is necessary. Sadly, despite the government having helped with a few grants here and there, we still have not got the help we need for LED, and that is the main thing that has reduced, that will effectively reduce our reserve. We're effectively helping LED out to the tune of £1.3 million above what was in the annual budget, and at the moment we're getting less than £300,000 back from the government. So I don't want to do any party politicking stuff here tonight, Joe. It doesn't matter, it doesn't help, but we are £1 million down for that, and it's a bit worrying because, you know, we were promised it. So hopefully that can come good. There was an issue around car parking charges about whether they should go up or not, and it was agreed that they absolutely cannot go up this year. That would be a huge mistake. I tried to argue that myself quite firmly because it's a very difficult balance. On the one hand, in the major coastal car parks, which are likely, we hope, to be absolutely crammed this year, it would of course be very attractive to a council, any council, to put the charges up. On the other hand, if you look at the market towns, you look at sort of smaller market towns like our own, or if you look at Axminster or Seaton or Honiton or Ottery, etc., to put the car park charges up now, just at the time when the small businesses and shops are trying to recover, is just inappropriate. But we needed to give the security to the strategic lead for finance that the charges would go up, and so they will go up, but they'll go up in April next year. The second item is about the East Devon local plan consultation. I've given you quite a few details on that and how the early responders are coming forward, what people are saying about new homes and jobs. I've promised the portfolio holder, Dan Ledger, to promote this again within the council and to remind you that if any of us individually or collectively wishes to respond, we've got until the 15th of March. The third item that's in my report regards the recommendations coming from the Scrutiny Committee at East Devon District Council re staff morale. So at a meeting on Thursday the 4th of March, the Scrutiny Committee made the following recommendations in response to an initial report prepared by the CEO, Mark Williams. The committee, 1, thanks the Chief Executive for his report. 2, asks the Chief Executive to undertake a follow-up staff survey at a suitable future point. 3, requests the Chief Executive to discuss this survey data with the staff representatives and to feed back to the portfolio holder for council and corporate coordination the outcome and actions resulting from that engagement to form an action plan. 4, there are only 5, 4, recommends that the Chief Executive, members of the SMT and the portfolio holder for council and corporate coordination discuss this survey data and any other relevant information and identify what actions are necessary to address the 4 key broad sets of issues identified. The first of these, as you might expect, is a matter of workload, staffing shortages, staffing vacancies, and management support for staff, and that is way out in front. 2 are issues to do with home working and staff isolation. 3 is to do with member conduct with staff. I emphasise not against staff. That one needs drilling into to find out what is actually behind that. And 4, staff communications. In other words, is the council comms working properly? And finally, number 5, it asks the Chief Executive to update this committee in light of the completion of the above 4 recommendations. Thank you, Chair. That's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Are there any questions on that?
I've got a couple of little questions, Andrew,
Yes,
but
John.
not on what Paul's saying. This is to do with Colyton, Paul. Can you tell me, I know it's a piddly little amount, I agree there, why the toilet lights are on 24/7 in the toilets in Dolphin Street, sorry.
Shall I answer that one first, John? It's an absolute nightmare. Do you want me to answer that one, John, and then come to your next one? So what has happened?
The other
all right.
one is,
Yeah.
the other question is, and that it's only about 5 or 7 meters away from that, on the corner of Dolphin Street and Silver Street. Last year it was buddleia growing all the way down through Silver Street, and I think from memory this council asked the district council who owned the flats, would they clear it? So yes, they come on and they sprayed the buddleia or cut it up. I can't remember what they done quite, but it's buddleia growing round in Dolphin Street, and it's right opposite where I guess it was a door that used to go into the flats many years ago that's been boarded up, and it's just a window in there. So, you know, I'd like to know what the answer to those two are, please.
Okay. Thank you, John. Yeah, the first one is that this is really not very good. I was alerted to this by one of the members of staff at Central Stores, which I think is what it's called at the moment, who gets to work at 6 in the morning and in January and February was finding the car park was in absolute pitch darkness, but that the lights were on in the loos. So I investigated that for her. And I think I may have let the clerks know, but forgive me if I didn't. But this is because Western Power, who had come to do those major works, you may remember, had gone away and left the lights in the car park not working and the lights in the loos left on permanently. And unacceptably, they confirmed back to our officer at East Devon, who I asked about all this, that they do not have time scheduled because of staff shortage to come back and rectify that until, from memory, I think it was the 27th of March. So I've said that's, you know, it's not really good enough, but unfortunately we are in the hands of the other of a contractor there. On the other one, yes, the buddleia there, it's growing back again. So I think the best thing for me to do is ask Ian, could you please write to the appropriate officer at East Devon again and copy me in, and we'll see if we can get that one sorted this year as well. Thanks, John.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, let's move on then to item 9, reports from meetings attended. Who would like to go first?
Well, I'll go again if I...
Yes, John.
We had a transport meeting. This is an ad hoc meeting between the county councillors, various councillors from the parish about transport problems. What I brought up today is about the yellow lines in South Street that haven't been put down. I've asked this twice to my knowledge, and the answer is, oh, well, we haven't got round to doing it yet. The next one is Lissom's Drain. And also I put in as well Shiphay Farm, where the flooding is, and I feel both are interconnected. That's going to be hopefully started in the new financial year. But I would like to add that somebody told me last week that a car hit the pothole, and whether it wrote it off or not, I don't know, but the airbags went on that car through hitting that pothole, bad pothole, and it's getting worse. Marketplace, the drains, and especially down by the subsidence down by the Colyton Castle, as you can see on the sheet here, that's going to be looked at this month. Sidmouth Road and round the School Lane are drains there, but doesn't seem to be anything done there. Collie Vale, I brought up about potholes there. Clay Lane, it's so much water running down through there, or has been. I've cleared the drains, but in one place in Clay Lane, the whole of the tarmac's gone, and it's washing on down through the road and washing into fields. Ridgeway Lane is another old chestnut here. This is through coping stones, got knocked off a couple of years ago, and I brought it up 2 or 3 times, and that hasn't been done. Coles Mills to Ruffles House. On the river side, it's some railings up at nearer the Ruffles House, wooden railings, they're all collapsed, and I feel this is a danger. Cowney Lane brought up once again about the flooding and the block cross drains, which I know about, so-called drains and potholes over the way. White Hart drains, we've had a long discussion, and the engineer says, well, he doesn't think it's anything the matter, but you know, I've lived in Colyton for 45 years, and I'm sorry, they're worse now than ever I've known them. All Colyton's roads are in a very bad state of repair, in my opinion. The other thing, this is very local to home. We had some verge ploughing done up here at Guernsey Corner going up towards Stafford Cross. And the lorries and the tractor, that came round through, well, it's the proper name of it is Serthley Road if you look on the map, but we call it Ridgeway Lane, and put all the earth into an open ditch, so that is now blocked. I went up and saw the contractor concerned and asked him would he clear it out, and he said assured me he would, but it hasn't been done. Downane Lane to the from Downane Lane Kennels to Downane Farm and Path there, very bad state. The road wants doing. I brought this up again at the meeting that we had this afternoon, and also potholes on Lions Close. That's going on towards Sutton Tip, just outside of the town. And I get told time and time again that the resident should report all these problems. Well, sorry, I feel a bit aggrieved over this. We are ratepayers. What are we paying their rates for? We're paying to the county to look after our roads and highways. It's a job that they should be doing and checking, not just the ratepayers. That's all, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for doing all that for us. And I know you'll follow it up, but if you would follow it up for the next meeting.
I add to that, Chairman?
Yes, yes, Eddie.
Thank you. Right. Just to confirm, obviously, what John has said, we had a rather heated debate about the inlaid water at the White Hart, and we've agreed with Martin Shaw and with Stephen from Highways that the next time we have heavy rains, we will actually all go down there and meet and look at the issues that we've got. Collie Vale, obviously, we talked about potholes everywhere, top of Farway into the top of Love Lane. We've got potholes everywhere. Basically, what was being said by Stephen was that they do not have sufficient capital to do anything else apart from fill the potholes in if they are over the prescribed size. But I think both John and myself get a little vexed, obviously, that we seem to be reporting these issues time and time again with very little progress being made. Would you agree, John?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, can I make a point?
Yes.
Yes. Lisham's Drain, 5 years this is now since we've been, as a council, reporting this. In January, they did some exploratory work about the drains, and we were told that it is right high on their priority to do it. I think we ought to every month complain and say nothing has been done. And I'd like to ask if our council, our clerk, would write specifically about Lisham's Drain and the horrendous amount of potholes there are breaking up in the road there. Keep the pressure on Stephen Kelly to do something. He has promised, and we must keep the pressure on every month, I think. And I'd like to suggest we write to him.
Can I just add to that, Colin? What Stephen did say was that they are upsizing the watercourse there to a 225 culvert.
Good.
So they are looking at it.
Okay, thank you. If we could move on now, because we've got other. There was a church fabric meeting. Do you want to report, Crispin?
Well, is there much to say, really? We've got
no, there isn't much to say. I mean, we just reported that, but the only thing is that they're not going to have the wild garden as they last year, because the grass actually only grew weeds. And that was the only thing that really affected us. So are there any other meetings attended? Okay, let's move on then. Move on to highways, item 10. And you can see there the A is the closing the road between the 12th of May and the 14th from Gatecross to Homebush. B is from the 27th of May to the 2nd of June, Dolphin Street, Colyton. And C is from the 22nd of March to the 24th of March, Dolphin Street, which is what John's just been saying about the drainage. I don't know if there's anything else about highways. We just talked about them. No, okay. So if we go on to item 11, correspondence. The first one is a letter from the chairman of the CCCLT regarding Seremtech site developer. Yes, Howard.
That's not strictly true. That's not a true description. It's from Charles Hill. I've declared that I'm on the committee of the CLT. But it does say, this letter is therefore a formal appeal to the parish council with a request to identify potential sites which may yield affordable housing to rent and may be delivered in partnership with the Community Land Trust. And it goes on, and I think it needs to be on the agenda as a proper item and not just as correspondence. It does say more than that, but I'm trying to be brief, looking at the clock.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Howard. I mean, I do agree with you. I do think this is something which we should put on the next full one as a proper agenda item.
Yeah.
When we've had a chance to actually think about some sites.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can we do that, Ian, for next month?
Yes, if you read that, Ian, it says more than about Seremtech, actually.
Yeah, okay. Right,
Chair,
moving on to...
Sorry, Chair, Paul here. We haven't made a significant decision, but I suppose just for transparency, I should declare that I'm also a board member of the Collyford Community Land Trust. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, moving on to the second item, email from East End District Council regarding Empty Homes Week, which we've all had. 3 is the coronavirus residential update. 3 is the resident regarding footpath 27 and 7. And this is a letter from Val Pavey, which I've been asked to read out, and says, it was sent to you, Eddie, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's, dear Eddie, would you be so kind to put my comments to the next parish council meeting? Recently, comments have been made regarding the conditions of the public footpaths between Collyford and Colyton. I walk those paths every morning with my dog, regardless of the weather. The one morning I could not get through was when the river burst its banks, covering 2 of the gateways. Yes, the paths are muddy, especially in the gateways, where there are very muddy puddles, but never are they impassable, even when we've had heavy frost. I make my own assessment about the ability to walk through, and I'm perfectly able to negotiate the mud, even at 76. The gateways are trampled up by cows, so no amount of scalpings or stones being put down would have any effect. They would be trampled in by the next herd of cows to be in the field, and they would be washed away when the river bursts its bank. I've been walking those paths for 40 years with 3 different dogs, and the condition is no worse now than it was. These are rural fields, not an urban park, and when it rains, they will be muddy. The little path next to the paddock where some sheep are kept is in a bad way, very muddy and sloshy, and may benefit from some levelling and scalpings, but at no time is it impassable. I do it nearly every day. These paths are well used by dog walkers, runners, and people just enjoying the countryside. I'd be saddened by any restrictions that reduces the pleasure of using the wonderful facility on our doorstep. Best wishes, Val. Okay, so if we can move on then to the next, which is the email from Peter Gibbons regarding item 20/11/64. Yes. Sorry, Howard.
Okay, I think I'm wrong. Because you've read out about the footpaths. The next one is the email from Peter Gibbons. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. I don't know, has everyone seen this email?
Yeah. I have. Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone wants to comment on it.
Well, can I go back to where I was? I can remember Helen answering, I think, a question from Ken Clifford as to when she was talking about Sheephole Marsh, that she thought it was Peter Gibbons who owned some of the land. But I can't remember Paul saying it, but I could stand to be corrected on that.
The thing about it is, I mean, obviously there is some confusion. There was some confusion as to who owned it at the time. And I think any statement was just a mistake. And really, it'd be as well just to write to Peter and say, look, we're sorry, we got this wrong, and move on. Because obviously we did get it wrong, and he wasn't the person who was holding up the negotiations. I don't know what other people feel.
Well, I think that's fair, Chair, just as long as it doesn't get laid at my door, because I didn't say it. The only thing I would have said, actually, at some point, might have been similar to what Helen may have said if Howard's right, which is I've obviously got involvement through district with the other end, the completely other end, where the Jurassic Centre is trying to get through into Seaton wetlands. And frankly, it's not even appropriate for us to discuss who owns that. But when it comes to land to do the stop line way, that's a county matter. I genuinely wouldn't have a clue about that. So I certainly didn't say that. So yes, if there's a form of wording that says to Mr. Gibbons, you know, we're sorry that appeared in the minutes, that seems a fair thing to do.
I would agree, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so are we all in agreement? That's what we'll do. I mean, yes, Howard.
Your wife had her hand up. She wanted.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Helen. Sorry, do you want to speak? Helen?
Yep. I think the minutes are actually correct, because I was asked, do you know who owns the land? And I said it might be Peter Gibbons. And Paul Arnott then came in and said, I can confirm it is Peter Gibbons.
Yeah. So, but the thing, what I'm really saying is it is a mistake that we've made, and it'd be as well to rectify it now rather than let it go on by apologising.
I have to say, Chair, unless we've got a recording of that, I don't think that's accurate. So we're going to get back into the problem with the November minutes again, aren't we? So
well, I mean, the thing is, the minutes are as they are, but what I'm trying to do is move on and just apologise for a mistake that's been made.
The minutes are accurate.
Yeah.
But the information was wrong.
So we've got it wrong.
Actually, Chair, can I just say, Councillor Helen Parr is not a member of this parish council. It's alleged that I said it and I didn't. So I think what you're suggesting is an eminently sensible solution, which is just to say to Mr. Gifford, sorry, that's wrong in the minutes. End of story.
Yeah. Yeah. So have we got a proposer to do that? Crispin, we got a second. Yeah, Eddie. Anyone against? One. Any abstentions?
Two.
Oh, sorry, two against. Right.
Because I was the one that asked the question, who owned the bit of land, just off my shoulder, like, you know, wasn't really bothered, but being a Colytonian, I like to know who's got this bit of ground and what have you. And Paul, I remember, put his hand up or looked up and said, Peter Gibbons.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'd still go along with what you've said, Andrew. if you let me finish, can I finish?
Yeah,
Paul?
hang on.
Thank you.
Yes, Ken, carry on. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
but what I'm just saying what actually happened. But I would say I agree with what you've said, Andrew, that would be the best way over it.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Chair, only because I've been named. The problem we've got is that the accounts that's given by Councillor Clifford does not accord with the accounts given by Councillor Helen Parr. So let's just move on.
Look,
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
been named as well, and actually what I've said is right. I said in answer to Councillor Clifford's question, it might be Peter Gibbons. You then, Councillor Arnott, said I can confirm that it is Peter Gibbons, and that's
Okay,
what was minuted. But I agree that you can, without changing the minutes, you can do what you propose.
So we've got a proposer and the seconder for this, and we've had 2 votes against. Any abstentions? So the rest are in favour. So we will write. Ian, if you want me to write something out for you, and then I'll give it to you. Is that all right?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
I may just come in there, Andrew.
Yes, Ken.
I don't want to cause any more boxing matches or what have you, but who does own that bit of ground? I did ask the question over.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
I'm not being mischievous, honestly.
No, nobody's saying anything.
Right, we'll pass.
Can I confirm for Councillor Clifford's benefit? I don't know.
Right.
I think, just to be fair, Ken, I think it is confidential because of the problems, and I don't think anybody knows other than the district council, possibly, or the county council who will be dealing with it. Actually, it's the county council. So I'm not sure that anybody knows. Right, so if we can move on to the final item under correspondence, the resident regarding litter picking, which seems a very good idea, but have we got a quote, Ian, that we can rely on? Or
no, they sent us a quote and then they sent an email just like I sent it to you guys saying that they have to disregard the quote. It's more whether we want to do it, then we can go out quotes and stuff later.
It was just easier that if we knew what the price was, it might have been easier to decide. Right, sorry, Steve, yes.
You're muted, Steve. Steve, you're muted. Steve.
Steve, you're muted.
You're muted.
Can I just say, Chairman, that I think we should support the motion.
Thanks. Sorry, Steve, are you going to say something?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's something we should promote. Yeah. We've got a volunteer wanting to do something for the town, and wonderful. Whether it's £10 a picker, I propose that we buy 5. I don't care what it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. Bit of community spirit. Get 1, we might get a dozen. Yeah. And it'll tidy up the town. Especially when you hear comments like Budley are growing out the base of houses in Colyton opposite the toilets, which are 8 foot high nearly now. The litter in there is horrendous, and I just think it's a wonderful idea.
Mr. Chairman, can I just mention that about 10 years ago we took part in the Best Kept Village competition for both Colyton and Collyford, and Colyton won several plaques for this, and East Devon used to promote this, and I'm hoping that through the CPRE that we can resurrect this initiative again and ask the East Devon if they will help promote keeping East Devon tidy and call for volunteers.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Right, so we've got a proposer and the seconder for this. Can we just be clear on the motion, because obviously we want to do it, but I do think we should get a proper quote before we decide to go ahead.
Andrew, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
sorry, Ken.
it did come through. I was reading it earlier. The 5 pickers total was £14 odd pence, which is nothing, is it? That was for 5 pickers, and the other item I think was a £5. So you're not talking. You're not talking about a lot of money.
Yeah, Ken, they resent an email saying that quote was incorrect.
Oh, right.
Sorry, I did forward it just before the meeting, so you might.
Perhaps they didn't give us enough discount then.
So we've got a proposal for this, but can we amend the proposal so that we get a quote for the pickers before we go ahead?
Yeah,
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah.
I'll second Stephen. Yeah.
Thank you,
Right,
Ken.
okay. So
Mr. Chairman, can I just say one more thing?
No,
2
Colin,
years, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, Mr. Chairman, Colyton Ford started a litter campaign, and we asked the street scene people at East Devon for equipment. They brought out litter pickers, black bags, and high-vis jackets, which they left at the front of the village hall. And it happened to be the day of the jumble sale. They got put on a stall and all got sold.
Right.
So just to say, East Devon will supply equipment, the street scene people, if we have a campaign.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Thank you. Right, so we've where have we got to in this?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a proposal?
Yes.
Ian gets a proper quote.
Yeah.
And that we make a decision at the next finance meeting.
Yeah.
Because it may be a lot more expensive.
Well, we've amended the thing so that we can do that, and we've got a proposer and a seconder. So all those against this motion, any abstentions? Right, so it's carried. Okay, so if we can move on to item 12, which is finance. And
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
Our clerk may have got an email from Justin Mayer this evening confirming that there is no cost involved for the extra work that he's had to do at the allotments. This is on the agenda for last time to be carried forward to this meeting, and I want to close the matter. Justin Mayer is sending an email, if he hasn't already done, to say that there is no further expense on that work on the allotment bank.
Okay.
But he obviously hasn't sent it. He hasn't sent it.
No, okay, thank you, Colin. Thank you. So we're moving on to finance now. And the first one is election of a new chairman. And I think as chairman, I have to do this, don't I? So have we got any nominations? Could we have a nomination for the chair of the finance?
Joy. Yes, Steve. I'd like to nominate Joy, if she would elevate herself from vice chairman.
I'd like to second that, Chair. Paul here, if possible.
No, I would like to decline from that, please.
Anybody third?
No one's asked me before this meeting, and no, thank you.
Okay, right. But
Chair, can I nominate Eddie, please?
No.
Oh, blimey.
No, I'll decline, please, Chairman. I've got enough on.
Right.
There's
the only
lots
thing
of
we
other
can do is,
councillors with no duties or responsibilities.
yeah, we can take this on to the committee meeting when we've had more chance to sound people out, and just go through the finance quickly now.
Yep. I propose that we postpone it to the finance meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Can we do that?
Would Howard? Could I propose Howard, please?
Okay.
I've asked him, Joy.
I would rather not, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay, right. So there's obviously a political hot potato nobody wants to do. So let's leave it to the finance committee meeting and just go through the finance now. You've had the minutes of the finance meeting held on the 22nd of February to be noted. The accounts to be approved, and I'm not going to go through these, but if there are any questions, please put them now.
I'm happy to propose them for approval, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Is there anybody voting against those? Any abstentions? Okay, so those go through. Thank you. B is the handyman's leaving present. He leaves April the 4th, isn't it? I think.
Yes.
I just wonder, because it is slightly sensitive, whether we should be talking about this in committee. The next.
Yes, I'll propose that, Mr. Chairman.
We should.
Steve.
We should.
Yeah.
So can we put this on the agenda for the committee meeting? Is that right, Ian?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. banking mandates. So we've got to remove Ray as a signatory and put the new chairman on. Well, we can't do that tonight because we haven't got a chairman. So that'll have to go on to the committee meeting. And finally, updated asset register to add to the website. And Ian's done all this. Thank you, Ian. I think everyone's seen it. Are there any questions about it? No. Okay, so let's move on to item 13, planning.
Chair, can I come in very quickly?
Yes.
Can I just thank you for chairing finance in that way, and just say at the next meeting, I'm very happy to nominate you as chair for finance in future.
Great. It's a bit like playing Russian roulette, Paul. I think we better leave it till we get to the committees. So anyway, sorry, Crispin, planning.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So although the agenda says there are no planning applications, we need to talk about Foxworthy. So knowing this was coming up tonight, I visited site today and reassessed the situation. And as far as I can see, and I'm looking at a plan in front of me as well on my side screen, the garage, which says it's been built, isn't what was approved. It's a smaller effort made of metal as opposed to a bigger effort made of timber. But what I don't know is that it's just a temporary store and the timber garage is yet to pitch up. More importantly, and I think this is what Martin was talking about, is the boundary to the south. And as far as I can see, if you can see that, I don't think you can. The boundary isn't square to the building as it's indicated on the application drawing. It's sort of skewed a bit to the south a bit more. Martin, am I sort of getting that about right?
Yes, I mean basically the boundary that because it's gone back for the application's gone back to you guys. In actual fact, if you look at the overall meters squared of change of use, it really is quite substantial. It's nearly double the plot, and you'll notice that it very nearly pinches off the bottom of that field, of which there is actually other protected species things on that field. And apart from that, it's within the A&OB, and also bearing in mind that that is the backdrop to what Colyton supposedly likes. It's the backdrop rural bit to your tram station.
All right.
Well, once that's pinched off,
AONB rules, they are sometimes difficult to interpret, and I talk of that professionally, and we leave it to the planners. If the approved drawing isn't right, i.e. on site, that is not where the boundary is, then we should bring that to the attention of East Devon and say, this isn't as drawn, and leave it to them, who can come out to site, measure the distances as necessary, although you're scaling them because they're not marked on here, and decide whether they feel this boundary is significantly out of line and needs to be put back where it should be.
Yeah, can I ask that you allow Mr. Weir to come back in for a moment, because I can see he's bursting to
sorry, yes, of course.
on that. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Martin, please.
Yeah, I mean, basically their plans are incredibly, they make it very hard for any of you guys to understand what is actually happening. And you'll notice that in actual fact, the applicant only put a plan in on the, I think it was the 16th, which was after the original consultation was closed, in actual fact. But it did then also mean, in fact, they were actually even, East Devon District Council actually turned down their plans as unacceptable.
Yeah.
On there. Now, I mean, I'm just here off the cuff. Really and truly, this whole thing has, it's gone wrong. And I would like to know from the parish councillors, did anybody receive an email or correspondence from East Devon District Council? Well, saying that they had extended, they had extended the application. Can that be minted, and can somebody answer whether anybody has received an email? The Colyton Parish Council received an email or letter?
Not from me.
it would be received by the clerk, and then the clerk would distribute it all to us. So we can only go on what the application drawings show.
Did the clerk receive an email saying that the application had been extended from the 13th of February to the 4th of March?
No, I received one email, and it was when it been the email I sent was received was when it was when it'd been extended, but the original one never got to us. So I don't know whether EDDC had already dealt with something, because there was already a resident who had commented. When I got to it, the resident already commented saying it was all wrong, and then it had been revised, and I got the revised one that gave us 16 days, which is why it was added to the previous meeting, because the end date was the 4th of March, which was Friday.
It had to
we
be.
didn't get anything original. We didn't get given for whatever reason.
Well, you cannot hold a meeting when the application isn't closed. I'm sorry, and it needs to be corrected. A proper meeting, rather than just me off the cuff. You need to be able to go back to the portal, look at the submitted comments, look at the submitted plans, and reassess. And that is what the proper procedure is. Now, if I gather the East Devon District are coming back and saying they will see if the applicant is agreeable to extend, which I think Paul might have said they might have been to the 16th. Well, that either a meeting has to be held before then, or something else has to happen. Because basically, I do realise it's a very small thing to you guys. However, the proper procedure should happen, and the parish council discussion on that application was held before it was meant to be held. And somewhere along the line, some communication broke down between East Devon and yourselves, or councillors looking at the portal, and being the fact that a lot of the documentation or a lot of the bits and pieces were only uploaded the day before, then obviously somebody's missed stuff, including any comments or including any added. If you'll notice that the applicant actually only added on this to the comments, and they added their plans and the location plan on the 18th. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I think it was the 16th, which is way past. Most people, you probably would have printed off stuff thinking that was it, end of. But it was not the end of. And you wouldn't have known to go back to that portal, look again, and reassess. So something's gone wrong. And obviously, I mean, maybe Paul can help me. Maybe there's a proper procedure for this. However, this shouldn't have happened. Something has gone wrong. It's a very small thing. Well, actually, it's not a small thing. They're actually nibbling away for a second time at changing agricultural to the domestic, which is a fairly big old piece of land there. And my concern is, being the fact of the position of it, you'll notice that it's, again, because you haven't got, nobody's able to share it in this meeting. If you could see the plans, it's, really nipping away that field. And on top of that, the weird shape. So you can almost bet your bottom dollar there'd be some building on there, or a request.
No, we mustn't, Martin, we can't assume that. You can't assume that.
But so you do need to be able to.
Please withdraw a comment where you're assuming that
I will withdraw that comment, but the rest of it is correct, and it needs to be corrected.
Okay.
Can I just ask, Chairman, have we had any other representation?
Sorry, say that, Eddie.
Have we had any other representations?
There is another letter on the file. I haven't got it in front of me, but there was another letter I saw, probably from one of your neighbours, Martin.
I think you'll find there's probably about 3 or so.
Right. Yeah. Well, it wasn't like 20 letters, Eddie, but there was a few. Yeah.
Well, we need to consider. Yeah.
Okay. Steve, were you going to say something?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Joy.
I think several of us went to a site visit at this property about 18 months ago. Is that right, Steve?
Yes, it is.
That's correct.
Yeah. And there was one of the discussions was about the boundary change then, and the positioning of the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this was is Martin saying that they've put the boundary in the wrong place to that application that was passed?
Yes, they have. They've put the round, they've gained another 4 meters. So basically, it's retrospect. Essentially, what's happened is So it wasn't me, but somebody else made a complaint to EDC. Enforcement came out, and the applicant was told that basically it's a sense of you remove it or you reapply. However, the whole application has been so confusing. They essentially just reapplied for the whole damn thing, but added extra on, and it didn't show the boundaries of what they were adding at all there. Totally confusing, and even in the latest plans were confusion really. But however,
Yes.
I really don't feel this is a time now, right this moment, to address this
Steve,
problem.
yes.
Crispin, as to the ANOB,
yeah,
from the very word go, a long time ago, every correspondence we had with East Devon on this planning application, they were told that this was in the ANOB.
Yeah.
So it's their mistake, it's not ours.
I had to make that. I actually came along, and each time I made representation to the fact that there was no comment from the ANB, and each time I phoned East Devon District Council and said, why isn't on the comments list? Now they have added it. However, the comment was they were only requested it, I think, could find on the 18th, again, when the original application was closed. But what I want to know is how you
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Andrew. Yes,
sorry,
Mr. Chairman.
we do need to resolve this now. We've got the facts. We've got to make a decision because it is going on.
If we are at the position where we can't, the applicants, as I understand things, if the applicants refuse to extend the consultation period, they'd be unwise to do that. But anyway, if they refuse to do that, then I don't know what East Devon will do. But if there's information which East Devon were told and was incorrect, then I think East Devon will be within their rights to say, no, we can extend it because we haven't been given 100% of correct details. Ian, where are we with East Devon at the moment? They say that they...
Yeah, from my point of view, I'm still waiting for East Devon to get back to me. They've just said that, so they said to us that they needed to talk to the applicant to get it extended. It's Paul who said that from what he's aware, the applicant said they're willing to wait until the 16th. So I haven't received confirmation of that.
So the 16th of March?
Is that right, Paul?
Sorry. I'm on mute. Oh no, I'm not on mute. It's a miracle.
No, you're not.
Yes, it is. That is right, Ian. So I mean, the applicant's saying another week. I mean, East Devon's line on this, which is always East Devon's line, is, well, we want to get this thing done. Otherwise, our own performance data suffers because we haven't done it within the prescribed time. I think in a case like this, I'd very happily just write back to the officer and say, well, I'm afraid we're just going to have to suck this one up. If we have to discuss this at the parish council properly on the agenda, Chair, if this is what you're so minded to do in a fortnight at planning, and then deliver a finding after that, I do think that the district will need to agree to that. That's my view. Unless you wish to determine it tonight, but it does seem as if you've got quite a lot of new information that councillors need to assess, don't they?
There is a bit to think about here, and I need to review all the information again. That's what I'd like to do, but it means we wouldn't get back to East Devon until the next meeting's on the 22nd. We wouldn't get back until the 24th. So, as a starting point,
well, Chair, if the parish wished me and or perhaps Helen even also just to write to the planning officer and say, and if you could help me with that also, Chair, just in the wording of that, what the issues are that we understand them to be. I would happily do that and advocate that we should be given this extra time. And to be honest, I think we just need to take it.
I think that's a reasonable proposal. I would like to think the planning officer will listen to the leader of East Devon District Council. So,
well, no favours there. I have to say.
Well, and to Helen, of course, as well. So, exactly. Mr. Chairman, do I need to have a proposer to do this?
I think you should do, yes, because it's important.
Okay. So that's Paul's proposal. Thank you, Howard. A seconder, please.
Second that.
Thank you, Eddie. Anybody got any objections? Have I got any abstentions? That means it's all carried. Thank you. So, Paul, yes, I'll write you an email. It will be tomorrow now, and I will have reviewed. I will review the situation tomorrow morning. Martin, you're on mute. Yeah, could you let me have your phone number or email address, and because I may need to refer to you, if that's okay.
Yeah. Do you want it now?
No, you'll find it on the website. Find my on the website, if that's all right.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Martin,
all right, thank you.
I'll send you an email with it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ian.
Chair,
Right,
can I just thank Mr. Weir for bringing this to our attention?
Absolutely.
I know it's gone on a bit, but it is a very interesting issue. So thank you, Martin.
I think we need to be made aware of this, and indeed, if we have shortcomings ourselves, and put them right. So that's on planning applications. Planning decisions. Well, you can read what it says there in the agenda. Planning, and just to reiterate, 1 Orchard Close, Colliford was put through. I don't necessarily agree with the planning officer's comment, but it is what it is. Planning correspondence, application for additional inscription on headstone to add name, seems reasonable, in my opinion. Application for standard granite headstone and inscription seems reasonable, in my opinion. Is there anything else to say on that, Ian? Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're very standard.
Okay, all right. In which case, unless anybody's got any other comments, I've come to the end of the planning report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Crispin. So we'll move on then to item 14, amenities. Colin.
Right, a very short agenda on this, Mr. Chairman. Minutes of the meeting held Monday, the 22nd of February, Appendix 2 to be approved for publication. Anyone's got any issues on that, on our meeting of the 22nd?
No.
Okay, then we'll put those forward for publication. Millfield, it was decided to begin work in the spring. I'm not altogether sure what this means, because this has been a point for debate for a long time. But all I will say is that I've had a request from Jason Goss that the parish council consider the building of raised beds for disabled people there. And what I'm going to suggest this evening is we ask for the Allotment Association to write a formal letter to this council for discussion on that, because for it to be put officially on the agenda.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, can I just, I mean, that's fine, but we do need, last year we missed the boat completely on this.
Yes.
We did have a quote from John Voisey to level it and clear it.
Yes.
Can we go back to him and ask for another quote? Because without clearing it, we can't do anything at all.
No, I agree.
And I think we do need to start at step one. So I propose we get a quote and then go from there.
Yeah, well, I'll approach John Voisey. I know it was £180 then to clear it and take away the rubbish from that site. So I will go back, and at the same time, I will approach Jason Goss to see if he will write a formal letter from the Allotment Association requesting this idea of raised beds for disabled people on that plot. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Nothing else? Yes.
I did speak to Katie Jones today.
Oh, yes.
And as you know, as the council knows, she produced an environmental report.
Yes.
And she said that if we just cleared it without taking reasonable measures to protect the wildlife, which we know is there, we could be contravening legislation.
Mr. Chairman, we did discuss this last year. There wasn't any wildlife there. There was only rats, and we really we decided to go ahead and get the job done. We wasted an awful lot of money and the whole summer doing nothing. It is just going to get worse. We had complaints from allotment holders about the rats. We really do need to grab this nettle and get on with it.
Okay. Can I just say, I've got a grandson who's put wildlife cameras up there for 12 months now, and the evidence is There's the odd fox and a few field mice, and that's all there is there. He's had cameras up there for 12 months. Anyway, there we are, with no expense to us. So, right, so can we have that agreement from the council? I go to John Voisey for a new quote for clearing the site, and we asked the allotment association to write a formal letter requesting raised beds.
Yeah.
Right. Can I have agreement from the council for that?
Yeah.
Everyone happy? No one against that?
I'll abstain, thank you.
You'll abstain, right? Thank you. Okay, that's all I've got on amenities, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Colin. Moving on to item 15, the annual parish meeting. We've got to decide a date. Ian, have you got any dates sort of earmarked?
No, none at all.
So have you been given a guidance as to when we should be doing this?
The guidance is to try and do it in April.
Right.
And just because it will be easier because of the fact that in May it's likely to be face to face, but we can do it online via Zoom. So the other guidance from Gauk is to do it in April because it will just be an easier process for us and easier to manage.
I see. So we can do it online.
Yes.
Right. Sorry, I didn't realise that.
But yeah,
so,
the advice is to do it in April just because it's easier to manage.
Okay. So our normal April meeting would be on the 12th of April. What about Monday the 19th? Any other suggestions?
Well, that's fine.
That's fine.
So shall we go for Monday the 19th of April? Okay. Oh, hang on, let me just write this down. Okay, so that's that one. Then we've got the annual meeting of the parish, and we've got a date here to be decided between the 10th and 24th of May. I don't know if anyone's got any suggestions, because we normally have it on a Wednesday.
Chair, I do know that the annual meeting of East Devon is due on the 10th, so that would clash. So Helen and I would probably be grateful if that was avoided.
Yeah, we should go for Wednesday, Paul, because it seems not to clash with other things. We've always done it on a Wednesday. So it would be either Wednesday the 12th or Wednesday the 19th, or the next one would be out of date. So it's really a choice of the 12th or the 19th. What would members prefer?
Can I suggest the 19th, Chairman?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the suggestion of the 19th. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Ken, anyone against that? Any abstentions? Okay, so we'll go for the 19th, Wednesday the 19th.
I'm Chairman. Online as well.
Is that online?
No, that would be that at the moment that will have to be face to face because from the 7th of May at the moment everything's face to face. Robert Generick has said that he would like things to remain on Zoom because he thinks it's easier for parishioners to be able to watch things, but he has not done it in Parliament yet. He hasn't put it forward yet.
So at the moment this will be in the town hall then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll just wait for developments and leave it like that.
Mr. Chairman, I propose that if we're going to have, if it became we had to have it in the town hall, I would cut down the speech times, not have a main speaker. Let's get it done and dusted and over with.
Yeah, I agree.
Chair, can I endorse that for if we do it online as well?
Yes. I don't think anyone's against that, Steve. I think it's a very good idea. Nearer the time when we get the agenda printed out, we should put that on the agenda. Yeah. Okay, so if we can move on then to item 17, the neighbourhood plan. As you know, we met last Monday with the steering group, and we've come back with these recommendations. These changes, which you can see there, 1, 2, and 3, and well, it's 1, 2, and 3. Are there any comments?
Mr. Chairman, on number 2, page 28, I sent an email out today which amended what was being said and has got the blessing of Paul
Western.
Western.
Thank you, Western. I was going to say Western. Yes.
Yeah. For the benefit of people who haven't read your email, could you just read it out, Crispin?
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot. If I've got it in front of me, yes. Which I have. So good. The concern was, and the concern was that this particular clause covered doing the right sort of thing, you know, respectful for the environment, respectful to other buildings around it. But there seemed to be a distinction between them buildings in the built-up area boundary and those outside, and indeed extensions and alterations. So what we said was that after item 4, then for all this is the real change, for all developments in the neighbourhood area, including extensions and alterations to existing properties that require planning permission, and then so really everything above and everything below is included for extensions and alterations.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. Howard, Mr. Chairman, can I just ask Howard, have I got that right?
You have got it spot on, Mr.
Right,
Chairman.
okay, thank you, Crispin.
If that's
and
proposed,
the final,
I would second that.
Okay, well, I was hoping, yeah, okay. We better do these individually. The right-of-way map is just to be enlarged. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
I propose that, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Eddie, anybody against? Okay, thank you. Right, the alteration 2, which Crispin has just read out. Have we got a proposer?
I'll propose.
Thank you.
I'll happily second.
Is there anybody against that? Any abstentions? No. Okay, so that's gone through. So the number 3, which is the paragraph 1011, and this has been typed out for us. Oh, sorry, it's been sent to us, emailed to us, typed out to me. So everyone's had a chance to look at that. Are there any questions on it? Can we have a proposal that we accept that?
I'll propose.
Thank you, Ken. We've got a seconder. Yeah, Joy, thank you. Is anybody against? Any abstentions? Right, so that's accepted as well. Okay, so if we move on to B, the authorization of the steering group.
No, Mr. Chairman, you've got 4. Any other amendments?
Yes, we haven't got any. Fine, are there any other amendments?
I would like to say a few words, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, all right, go on.
I felt very aggrieved with the way that you ran the working group last week. I made it very clear that I was going to work off of a document which dealt with all the regulation 14 comments. You realised that, but when you chaired the meeting, you decided to ignore my pleas and ignore what I'd said earlier on, and decided to go through the neighbourhood plan as it stood currently. And therefore, you did not really take into account any of the comments as a result of the Regulation 14 exercise. And if you happen to look at the Parish Council consultation notice, which was sent out with the neighbourhood plan for everybody to comment on, it says the Colyton Parish Council invites comments on the draft plan. All responses received will be considered by the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group and the Parish Council to produce a revised version of the plan, which will then be submitted to the local planning authority for examination by an independent examiner. We have not done that. We are therefore, as a council, in breach of our responsibilities.
Yeah, I just answer that. Actually, I disagree with you on that, because we all knew this was coming up. There was a lot of work done outside of that meeting, before the meeting. We all had it. It was all printed out for us. I know I spent hours on it. We could not possibly have gone through all 400 comments and 44 pages of the neighbourhood plan in one meeting. The work had to be done by individual councillors and members of the steering group before the meeting, so that we were all well versed before that meeting. We would never have got through it And I disagree. I do feel that both the steering group and the parish council gave all comments full consideration. They were all printed out. We saw them all. So I really don't think that's a fair comment on what we did.
So you ignored again my proposal, which you said you would not let me put forward, because I said there are a lot of those which we can just pass over because they've been dealt with by the steering group. But there were quite a lot outstanding. Also,
Howard,
let me speak, Mr. Chairman. Let me speak. Also, we are having 60 things referred back to the parish council for action. There's the document. It's taken us 2 or 3 years to sort out Lisham's Drain and Millfield. How are we going to deal with 60 things that have been passed back to us to action, and none of them are in the neighbourhood plan? That is totally and utterly incorrect, and you have missed my point. We did not discuss in parish council the comments. We also did not discuss the plan before it went to regulation 14. So we have never really sat down as a council, not as a working group. We've never sat down and gone through the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah, can I try and help here? Which is that I think Howard has got a number of fair points here, but I also take the point that you have made, Chair, as well. There is a certain amount of preparation that should be expected of all councillors. Equally, Howard had done an awful lot of preparation and had virtually indexed it according to the document we didn't go by on that meeting. I just wonder whether, I mean, we're getting here. We've agreed 1 and 2 and 3. Is it not possible that we can just have one more discussion on this as a parish council, just to go through these points, that not to prevaricate, but I mean, it only takes one more time, perhaps at the next planning meeting, and I think then we can satisfy what Howard is saying.
Well, I really disagree, because we agreed on that working group meeting to do everything on that at that meeting, and I do feel we did. I know Howard feels aggrieved, but everyone had the same chance to speak at that meeting. There was 15 people there. You have to keep those meetings going. You cannot stop and go through every comment. The blue sheet, which we've been provided, is, as far as I can see, is the one that was outside the neighbourhood plan, and it's been referred back to the parish council. So we've got to deal with this in the future. It is not part of the neighbourhood plan. So I don't think we should be going through that now. It's obviously some of these matters are going to come up anyway on their own accord.
I take your point, Joe. I suppose what worries me is I do wonder whether there was stuff that Howard wasn't able to point out to us at that meeting that we haven't had a chance to explore. I think we would have to agree. I think it's fair to say that he had done a more thorough indexation on these documents than any one of the rest of us who isn't actually sitting on the council plan. I think let's just be honest about that. And I think it would have been quite useful to hear more. Well, possibly you as well, Andrew, I'll give you that. But,
Yeah, well, I mean, and so did the steering group. And, everyone had a chance to comment. And I really don't think we should be going back on that work that was done and that meeting where we agreed these recommendations.
Don't forget, that was a meeting of this. That was a informal meeting, was it not, of the parish and the steering council? It wasn't recorded. It sat outside, which was great. This is the first time where we've come to look at it formally in informal circumstances. And one of our most respected councillors, who's made a real study of this for many years, alongside obviously the activities of the steering group, is saying that there's stuff that we haven't actually looked at yet, and that does. I just think we're making. I don't quite see what the hurry is on that, or any controversy, or indeed going straight to the point, any insult to anybody involved in it, in us just having a look at those few points Howard may wish to raise. I mean, Howard, how many points are there, do you think, that are things we should have been looking at?
I haven't counted them.
Is it a dozen or?
No, there's more. There's about 40. But I'm
Chairman.
Yes. Sorry, Joy. Yes.
I do find it quite insulting, Mr. Arnott, And also at the meeting, Howard asked how many other councillors have read the comments. Well, I'm sure we all had read them. And it's very unfair to speak as if we hadn't read them. And there was only Howard that had made notes. And just because we agreed with a lot of what the steering group had said, and Paul Weston and his expert opinion, it doesn't mean to say we hadn't read it and hadn't read all the comments from the residents.
I apologise, Jay.
There were a lot of people. Paul, also, there were a lot of people that actually said positive things and how well the steering committee and Paul Weston had put this together.
Yeah.
But, we don't seem to hear that from Howard. And
no. Chair, I think that's really unfair. All Howard, you have heard it from Howard, and you certainly heard it from me. I absolutely, I'm sure everybody made a study of it. It is clear that Howard had some points he wished to make that we did not hear. However, I had got not much to add in, and clearly, through you, Andrew, Joy hadn't either. But Howard had, and we haven't heard them, and that concerns me. I don't quite understand why we're.
Well, I can't understand why they weren't brought out on the night, because everybody had the chance, and Howard didn't speak. So why are we going through it now?
I think Howard explained that he was going from one document, and you were chairing it from another, and it was almost impossible to cross-reference them for him. I mean, that's the reality of it. But
the rest of us seem to manage.
Yeah, quite.
On the night.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say one thing?
Hang on, why have I got my hand up?
Sorry.
Can I just say one thing, Mr. Chairman?
No.
Yes, Eddie, shush for a minute. Sorry, come on.
Let Eddie speak.
But I'm not interrupting anybody, but what I think is important, Chairman, is we are coming away from the issue of the statement that we made to the public of Colyton and Collyford. And we are going against that. For whatever reason, we are going against that statement that the Parish Council, as a reputable body, made.
Well, I disagree. Sorry, Colin.
You obviously do.
All I can say is, as a long-time member of the steering group and a parish councillor, that a huge amount of work went in since Christmas to the analysis of those comments. Over 70 comments that came in, and they went through from our consultant to the steering group, and we took over them with a fine toothpick comb and analysed them. And there was nothing I think that we could have added to that in our meeting. So I think it would have been a waste of time to yet go over them again.
But sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm not saying that it's not a large amount of work that's done by a variety of individuals. The point is that the statement was made on Regulation 14, which we have not adhered to. That's the issue.
Well, I'm sorry, Eddie, but we have been through everything that was.
No, I'm not doubting that, Chairman.
Well,
I'm not doubting that, but we are going against the statement that we made.
Right. Okay. Well, look,
can I make one more point, Mr. Chairman? If you read my comments, number 8, the first thing I do is thank the steering group and the consultant for all their hard work in getting this far. So I object to Joy's comment about what she was saying.
Right, okay.
All I would now like to say, let me finish, is that if you approve this tonight, then the council is responsible totally for the neighbourhood plan, not the steering group, not the consultant. It is the council, us. We are responsible for the neighbourhood plan. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Okay, so we've now discussed this point. Really, we've got to decide whether we want to go ahead or not, because obviously the steering group are pressing us to go to East Devon, because we've got to get either the CEA or the HRA or clearance whether we have to do it or not. So how would councillors like to proceed? Would you like to go ahead, or do you want to delay and go through another
I would support Councillor Arnott. At least we fulfil the objections that we put down.
I do think, Chair, that genuinely I think it's meant to be helpful that, you know, we can endorse just about everything on this tonight to give, you know, comfort to the steering group that we're ready to go with all this. But, you know, slightly grinding, as I admit it, it is for all of us. We do need to have just one more consideration as a parish council. I fear, I wish we didn't. But I do think that would be judicious, and then that would tick the box, which Eddie and Howard have pointed out.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a proposal. Have we got a seconder for that?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Okay, Eddie. Right. Are there any amendments?
Yes, I'll make an amendment that we go forward.
Yeah. So basically, Steve, you're saying it's a vote. Yeah. We either go right. So is there a seconder for Steve's?
I'll second Steve.
Okay. So we'll vote on the amendment first. So the amendment is that we go forward. We put this forward as it is to East Devon. So all those in favour.
Clarify what my motion is, please. Which is my motion is to go forward with all aspects of this except 4 at this stage. You know, with a mind to do that within a fortnight.
Yeah, okay, but it is slightly different. So Steve's saying we should go forward now. The amendment saying we should go forward now. Yeah. So all those in favour of that, of Steve's motion of going forward? Have you got those, Ian?
Yeah, 5.
5. And
John Hay.
Sorry?
What about John Hay? Is he
Yeah.
voting?
I got my hand up.
Oh, I can't see you on your camera. Okay,
right.
So 6.
So the amendment is carried then.
Yeah. How many are against? Just so I can record it.
Yeah, sorry, all those against.
I'm imagining
raising
4.
a yellow hand for you there, Ian.
Yes.
Thank you. 1, 2. So 4 against.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll go forward to East Devon as it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we can go over the page to item 18, the agenda order.
You've missed C. You missed out C.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's C. Right, sorry. It's ratifying the neighbourhood plan pending any approval, alterations, and subject to confirmation. No further SEA or HARA is required. But I tell you why I miss that out is because we don't know yet what East Devon are going to say as to whether it needs ratifying, because it may be it doesn't need to be SEA'd or HRA'd.
But if you want the document sent to LPA, it has to be minuted that it's been ratified.
Oh right, okay.
This is actually to ratify the document, so it becomes for me to pass on to the LPA, and then the LPA will take control.
Thank you, Ian. Right, so
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Could I ask the parish clerk to record the reasons that I said that I didn't agree with the plan going forward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so have we got a proposal for the ratification of the plan to go forward to the LPA, which is the next step?
No one else is going to do it, so I will.
Steve, have we got a seconder?
I'll second that again.
Ken?
Thank you, Ken.
Is there an amendment? Okay, so it's a straight vote. All those in favour of the ratification, would you like to raise a hand?
Right, 1, 2, 3.
John?
4, 5, 6.
John?
I got my hand up.
Paul, have you got your hand up?
No, I'm going to abstain on this. Thank you.
Okay.
That's 7.
7, okay. And all those against? 1, 2, okay.
2 against, yeah. Yeah, I've got.
Okay, so that is then carried, so we have ratified it, so it can go forward to the LPA. Right, sorry, I lost the page. Right, so over the page to item 18, the agenda order. I brought this up, well, I asked Ian if he put this on the agenda because last time the meeting went on after we'd had the committees, and some of the more important things that came at the end didn't really get full discussion. I think actually we got the right decisions, but it would have been better, I think, if they'd been earlier in the agenda. And I was just wondering if we could change the agenda or ask Ian to change the agenda so we had the committees later on and get through the main body of the agenda first and then go on to the committees. And the reason for that is if we got to say amenities at the end and we didn't have any time, we could then put that into committees a fortnight later and we wouldn't really lose anything. I don't know what other members think.
Chair, if you're
Well, I would
proposing that
second
from the
that.
chair, I'd happily second that. I think that's a fantastic reform. And I think it helps with, to be honest, I think it's fairer to members of the public as well, because quite often they raise an item in public speaking and then find it turns up at, item 28 on our agenda, and they have the pleasure of sitting through all of our planning decisions that they may not wish to. So, yeah, I'd favour that. It's a great idea.
I think it's a brilliant idea, Chair. Well done.
Yes, I would go along with that. And if it doesn't work out, we can always go backwards again. But
well, that's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody against? Any abstentions? Fine. So we'll do that, Ian, if that's all right with you. It is Ian's agenda, but he just wanted to get support. Item 19 is the visit to the office by chairs to sign off the minutes. When would you like to do this, Ian?
Whenever you guys want to. We just need it obviously before April. So anytime in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Let us know when you want to turn up.
Right.
Do it with me
so
or Sasha.
Because we could do it individually. We don't all have to be there together, do we?
Not as far as I'm aware. No, you just need each of your signatures.
So if the chairs, so that's you, Crispin, and Colin, we haven't got one of the finance, but we'll have to wait for that one. If you could arrange at some stage with Ian and go in and sign them so we can get the audit done. Okay. Thank you.
Can I just ask Ian, it's Steve, I was chairman of planning, so I don't know if there's any minutes there that I should be signing. So don't look now, don't worry about it now. Just email me if there is.
Yeah, we'll do. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So moving on to item 20, section 106. Are there any issues coming up on section 106?
So, yeah, we're being pushed for an answer from Jamie Buckley. He said that it's gone on quite long and that he would like an answer. You cannot disregard any of the previous applications for S106. I know we've asked for a new lot, but the previous ones can't be disregarded because of time, because it's not the person who's applied for that funding to be used in a certain way fault that it's taken a lot of time. So the things we've got is, so the suggestions we have at the moment is a sports activity wall, improvement to skate park, which is now a separate project, a pentacule court, which has now been removed by the applicant, a jogging track around part of the football field, which, as far as I'm aware, the cost is too high, a rugby pitch with cost is too high, 3G football pitch with cost is too high, climbing wall, bowling green, cycle track for children, outdoor gym, which has got a lot of people have a lot of suggestions. So there is a cost issue, but it could be that we just put less equipment in and we could probably get a cheaper price. Trim trail or obstacle course. And then the last suggestion, which I'm not sure whether that would fit in, is a picnic benches with board games built in.
Okay, Eddie, you want to comment?
Yes, Julie, the steering group, in fact, shortlisted the projects down to 3. Is Ian saying that we cannot ignore the ones that we rejected?
At the moment, nothing's been sent to Jamie. Jamie Buckley has that list. That is
No,
what
we met as a steering group, Ian.
Yeah.
And we shortlisted it down to 3.
He hasn't been informed of that. So that information needs to be passed to him. Obviously, I wasn't here, so I'm just going on information he gave me. That's what he is aware of.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that we make an amenity meeting on the 22nd and make this as a priority on the agenda.
I think it'd be a good idea, Colin.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Chair, can I just
yeah,
add
sorry.
in that it might
Yes.
be worth adding just to mention that Jamie is a she, actually.
Yes.
That's okay.
Not a bloke.
I just made an
Howard.
assumption. Sorry,
Right.
of the name.
Howard,
My
Howard,
bad. I apologise.
Perhaps,
I mean, we did actually. Sorry,
hang on,
just
Eddie,
Chairman.
Eddie, Howard speaking, sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, did have his hand up. Yep.
perhaps we could ask Ian to ask Jamie Buckley a question, but my comment is also a question. How was the skate park funded originally? With some S106 type monies?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive it was.
Right. Is it therefore possible to say to Jamie that there is a problem with the safety of the Stockline Way, of the skate park as it is at the moment, which means we may have to close it, or we can spend money on repairing it, and could that money come out of this S106 money?
I can answer that now. You can use that money. Jamie has said that all you need to do is get a quote from a supplier before the project goes to public vote. Make sure that the 2 ramps the young people have proposed are affordable. You can use the money.
Sorry, Chairman.
Yes. Eddie, yes.
Yeah, can I just confirm, obviously, that the figure as was at £19,000 because it was ring fenced.
No, it's 11,000.
It was 19.
No, from my knowledge, from what I've been told, the money is £13,900.
Yeah. So we're both wrong.
I got sent from Jamie.
No, so it moves up, Eddie.
Yes, oh, and I realise that. Yes, so okay.
That should be rising all the time at the moment because the new estate up from me, that is almost full.
Yeah.
You're right,
Okay.
Steve. It should be moving upwards, yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Going back to my point, sorry, Crispin has asked for a quote to repair this one area that's damaged, but the longer term is that it all needs repairing everywhere where the skate park touches the ground. So it is going to cost quite a considerable sum of money, and I think it's got to be done, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, Colin.
Mr. Chairman, can I repeat my proposal that we defer this to the 22nd of March in a special amenity meeting tacked on to the financial. I'd like someone to second that, please.
I will second that, Colin.
Yeah.
I didn't disagree. I just asked if we could do some research to see if we could use some of that money on the repair of the skate park.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a proposer and a seconder. Is there anybody, sorry, are there any amendments? No. Is there anybody against the proposal? Any abstentions? So that's passed. So that'll go on to the Amenities Committee meeting for the 22nd. Moving on to item 21 very quickly. Items brought up to the CBC's attention after the agenda was published. There is there's 2. Eddie would like to take Ray's place on the police. What's the committee called, Ray?
There's 2, Chairman. One is the OPCC, which is the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioners. And there are a number of meetings coming up of which Ray had got his name down for, but obviously with his retirement or his pending retirement, he asked me if I would support him. And I said I would do on this occasion. And in addition to that, obviously, there is a discussion coming up with the police on ANPR and also on the Community Speed Watch.
Yeah. So
which I'm quite happy to do as a member of the Colyton Speed Watch.
Okay. So I suppose we need to propose and second this is
I'll propose it. I'll propose it.
Fine. Thank you. And Steve will second it. So is there any amendments? Is anyone against it? Okay, well, thank you for taking that on, Eddie.
Well, can I just ask through you, Chairman, Ian, can you send Mick Harrison the details? And when you do send in the details, can you ask him to communicate with me through my BT internet, not through my CPC?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Just
thank you.
one more matter under this heading, which I was asked yesterday to bring up. Easter is early April, and the church normally has a Easter morning dawn service at the picnic site at first light on Easter Day, and they were asking whether they could have permission to do that this year.
I propose we agree.
Yeah.
Social
Okay, second.
distancing, Chairman.
Yeah, well, they will be, because they're
That's
very
okay.
aware of that.
Yeah. I asked the
Sorry,
obvious
Steve.
question.
Steve, you want to say something?
Yeah, I did email Ian. The new building site up, not the first one up from me, north of Yaffles, coming to completion.
Yeah.
Many months ago, we did write to them and complain about the state of the grass verge opposite the, there by the playing fields, that their staff had parked on and crushed, and it was a mud patch. Well, they have started to put the pavement in now up to the beginning of the playing fields, and they will reinstate their grass verge. I think it is now time to write to them, or East Devon to write to them and say, look, you need to repair the grass verge.
Yeah, I support that,
Which
Steve.
their staff have done.
Okay, so that's a proposal, and we've got a seconder.
Yeah.
Is anybody
Yeah, on
against that? No abstentions? Right. So would you be able to do that, Ian, please? Are there any other matters?
I have got. I know it's 9 o'clock, Mr. Chair. So
yeah, we have to be quick.
Rather quickly, and I've sent things out on emails. So Southwest Water supply to the allotments. They are. You'll have seen an email. They're coming next Monday, sometime in the afternoon. If anybody wants to come there with me, I'd be very grateful. Colin, for example.
Okay,
and we can and I went to the site today and sort of made myself more aware of where we could bring the supply in from the street. Second item, skate park. Well, none of the companies we've been to, Ian, unless something's changed, have come back. So I'm going to start approaching smaller contractors who might be more interested in doing the job. The library meeting, which is down for the 15th to the 4th, I have been asked to make it clear to the council that it is actually a public meeting because it's an AGM, and whether it's okay that we publish to the public the access details. It'll all be on Zoom. Does anybody have an objection to that?
No.
No.
What time is the meeting? What time is the meeting at the allotments?
I'm going to let you know that, Colin. I'll let you know. I will get half an hour's notice.
Monday the 15th.
Yes.
Monday the 15th.
Yes.
Can I just go back to the point that you made about the skate park and go for smaller contractors? I take it it's the same conditions as you were asking for originally, which were recommended.
Sorry, how do you mean? What, the design?
We were recommended the use of certain substances, weren't we?
What you mean in the way of the concrete thickness?
Yes.
Concrete. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. It'd be going out with the same specification.
That's all I asked.
Eddie,
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay,
now, yes.
thank you for doing that, Crispin. So if we can move on to item 22.
Sorry, just a second, Andrew. Skip local plan. Oh yeah, I looked at that local plan information from East Devon, and it really is very early days. We don't have to comment now, and they're covering just about every subject they can think of. So I don't think there's anything to do on there. And I need approval to the newsletter. This is if I put my other hat on as being part of the editorial team. Approval to the newsletter to go out, which you've all seen in an email.
Yep.
Does anybody have any objections to that happening? There's a few things to add from tonight's meeting, but in general, has anybody got a problem with it as we are acting on behalf of the parish council?
Have we thanked John Rollins enough? Should we thank him in the newsletter?
Well, we could certainly add it. He's a council employee.
I'd like to propose we do a big thank you after all his service.
Okay, thank you, Colin.
Who are we
Do I
going
need to
with
go
the
through
interviews?
do I need to, just a second, Andy? Do I need to go through, Mr. Chairman? Do I need to go through a proposal and amendment of that?
No, I'm sure not. I'm sure we all
Okay.
agree on that.
I'll make sure that's added in. Andy, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Right. Can we move on then to, there's nothing to go into committee, and you've got the dates there, the next meetings, the finance planning and amenities will be on the 22nd of March, and the full meeting will be on Monday, the 12th of April.
Oh,
Okay,
Chair,
so
wasn't there something for committee? I hate to say, wasn't it about the handyman? And
no, that's
the-
I meant for the committees.
Oh, brilliant. Thank heavens for that, Chair. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Right. So I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you, everybody.
Chairman,
Night all.
sorry, can I
Right.
just ask what the situation is on the handyman replacement?
Well, we've drawn up a short list and we're hoping to interview them, but we haven't got a date yet. We've got to go back to them.
Right, okay.
Okay, but we will keep you in
Andrew,
touch.
if
Yes.
we don't push it along a bit, we may have to ask John to come in for a week.
Thanks, Steve.
That
Thanks for volunteering, Steve.
guy's got an awful lot to learn.
Yeah, I know.
He's
I
got
know.
collar on.
Or lady, I don't know.
Okay, before we get any more difficult,